We did go ahead and get our deck set, gentlemen. And then Tom, can you go take that middle row of lights down? We did go to Boone, North Carolina.
Lights.
And yeah, the middle row of lights.
Tom.
He's getting there. He's getting there.
Why so far back? Those don't work.
Yeah.
Speakers don't work.
There we go. All right. So we did go to Boone, North Carolina, and I wanted to share that one question I was asked by many as we started setting up this trip: are you guys going to do hurricane relief? And I didn't know how to answer that question, because it's like, well, not usually. We got up there and we found out that almost everybody has a hurricane story in Boone, North Carolina. Now, God spared that. The county is Watauga County. Only 2 people died as a direct result of the hurricane as it came through. It was 9 months ago to the day on Friday, right? So that's how long it's been, or how short it's been, depending on how you want to look at it. And there are people who have been living in transient housing the whole time, trying to get back in their house. They're paying mortgages on a house they can't live in, right? You just can start imagining. And there are stories at almost every place we were. Now, some of them, they weren't impacted by the storm. They're just needy families. And you're going to see some of that as well. But most, sorry, Janie, most have a hurricane story. So as these guys talk, you're going to hear a little bit of that, and just keep that in mind as they share. All right. There you go, Jim. Thank you.
It was your wife.
Sorry, Janie.
All right, as we start, you can see Boone, North Carolina. Our dates were 23rd to the 28th. We had 19 youth, 4 newbies, which is people who have never gone, 7 adults, total of 26. We kept counting them. We kept losing one. We finally kept finding them. 12 projects completed. These were massive projects. These weren't like cleaning yards. 10 were in the Boone, North Carolina area, and 2 were in the outlying Newland, North Carolina, which is about a 45-minute ride. After some of the work we did, it was a little more difficult to present the gospel, because these houses were like 2 and 3 miles apart. They weren't like there's one next door, because the rest of them were gone. They were literally slid off the mountain and no longer existed. They did a job of cleaning up the debris, but the houses weren't there for people to live in. The 2 salvations were awesome. They were true salvations. They weren't gimmies. Regress follow-up. We have the 13 gospel presentations. We did it wherever we could go. Most of the children and the adults were literally on job sites. They weren't in town. They actually met anybody else except other workers. We did pay for 28 people. And our offering of $2,190.04 was raised. As you can see, the giving heart of these children is very large. They are amazing. They are truly amazing. Wonderful week.
My name is Olivia, and I'm in 7th grade, and I'm 12. And on Monday, on June 23rd, we left at 6:30, and we started with a send-off prayer.
My name is Claire, and I'm a rising 7th grader, and I say the food at Cracker Barrel is amazing. You should definitely go.
My name is Luna, and I'm a rising 7th grader. And we arrived at Greenway Baptist Church in Boone at 2:45 p.m. We got settled in our rooms and got all our gear, t-shirts, nail aprons, etc.
My name is Jojo, and I'm a rising senior, and this is just a group photo of all the churches combined. In total, there were 4 different churches from Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and of course Georgia. And in total, we made 132 missionaries of all ages. And of course, we had different volunteers from the area, and we had the wonderful cooking team from Perkinsville Baptist and Clear Springs sent 26 of these missionaries, and our theme, as you can see, was Waves of Mercy, which was based off of the story of Jonah, and still holds so much meaning today.
My name is Janelle, and I'm a rising 8th grader. And the day we arrived on Monday was very busy. We started with a welcome celebration where we met everyone we were working with for the week. And we learned the World Changers theme song. Afterwards, the adults went to a meeting while the rest of the kids played icebreaker games, and then we had a really yummy dinner. After dinner, we had a worship with the speaker, Pastor John Hayes, who was a pastor at Greenway Baptist. And yeah.
My name's Joanna. I'm a rising junior. And after all this, we had our church group devotions, and this was after the sermon, and we just talked about what the pastor had talked about, and it was very nice. And afterward, we had our first crew talk where we met everyone who was going to be in our group and everyone who we were going to work with, and we learned about our projects and what we were going to be doing that week. And we also had different roles.
My name is Isaac Yang. I'm a rising 8th grader, and so the next morning, which was Tuesday, we had what they called the Great Send-Off, and so basically all of the teams gathered in circles, and they met each at their own group, and we made a big circle, and then we had like a prayer, and we played some games to fill time, and then yeah. And so this was our schedule for basically from Tuesday to Friday. So we would wake up at around 6 to 6:15, and then we'd change and get ready, and then we'd go eat breakfast, and then at 7:30 we would leave for the work sites, and we would work around till noon, and then we would eat lunch, and after we worked all the way till 4, and then we got back to the lodging facility and had a shower and relaxed until dinner, which was at 6. And then the adults had prayer time, so we just got to have like fun and relax and play games. And then at 7:30 we had worship, which connected right till 8:30, which was the group devotions. And then after that we had like half an hour free time until it was lights out at 10:30.
That's a story there, buddy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. During the concert of prayers on Thursday, we sought God in new meaningful ways. For confession, each of us dropped a stone, symbolizing the release of our sin. And, burdens, yeah. We wrote down the names of those we longed to see saved and lifted them up in prayer. We had many genuine tears and hearts broken for others and others before God. But the most amazing part of all of this is that one of the kids that was with us, hold up, my bad, I forgot the word, gave his life up to Christ, my bad.
Where's the thing? Oh, are you talking about this? Keep going.
Going into concert, right?
Oh, this was, go back. That was us going into the concert of prayer and also preparing our offering, just FYI. Okay, next slide. All right, and then we had our projects. So next slide. So we are the Dusty, Dirty, Downright Determined. Every group has a fun name, and we had the biggest one, 4Ds. This is our group. And go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. All right. Are you talking about this? Okay.
So as you can see, the blue arrow points to the door, and there's like a mark there. You can see that's how high it flooded because into the garage. And so the water was like way above the car level, and it flooded like really bad, and there was like water everywhere. And
Oh, we'll see it. We've got a picture.
and then, that's the other side. Yeah, that's the creek and us sitting around, and that small creek actually flooded to like really big.
You can see they're working really hard there.
Yeah, and then that first picture up there is Mr. Kai, and we were that's a work in progress, and you can see all the furniture, how badly it got like all the mud like washed over it. Yeah, it was like all the way up like 2 feet in the house, like waist high.
So the owner, he was a potter, and he had a kiln, and he would use it to make like pottery, and he sold the pottery stuff. I don't know how to say it, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Kai, and I'm rising into my 50s. And this is my second year to World Changer, and this year I got a new role as a crew encourager to encourage the kids. And we have a group of middle schoolers, and I learned a lot from Melissa as crew chief how to deal with middle schoolers. But our kids are really, really working hard, and as you can see, they are whack the weeds and also cleaning the furniture. Next slide. And the owner, we met him every day, and he tell his story, life story. He moved around, and he was grew up in England and in Canada, Europe, and finally here. And we present him with now, the one that behind him is from the other church, and now I understand a little bit of how middle schooler boys' brain works. They just doesn't follow necessarily directions. But on the last day, and Melissa took us graciously to Chick-fil-A for ice cream, and he all of a sudden had a brilliant idea. Run and play a prank actually to a neighboring customer and ask for a fry. And then he came back and very frightened because he saw that guy came to the counter again. He thought he was going to report him, but instead that customer actually bought him a fry. And large fries. And so the whole week's message is about wave of mercy. And this is just the extra lesson that we had on the spot about mercy.
Hi, my name is Lori Shen, and I'm a rising 12th grader. This year I was on the crew named Glueless with Daniel and Mr. Tom. And one of our projects was fixing her flooring that had flood damage, and also leveling out her backyard so that we could guide the water away from her house. And after we finished on the backyard, we went over to the crew next door and we tore down their back deck. And then after that, we ended up going to Miss Melissa's crew and just helping with paint and taping up everything. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Paul. It's my first missionary going out, and I'm glad I'm joining our kids out there and experience the changes in God. Our project, we're working on, next please. Keep going. Yep, our group is the Hammerheads. We were working on a project building a ramp for the wheelchair. The house is damaged during the storm, and then it has to be raised up like 7 and 8 feet in the air. So it's kind of has to be like a 80 feet ramp to long to go about. And our crew are working so hard on it. And we have four from our church. We have Henry, we have Allison, we have Elijah, and me. And I'll have Elijah give it a couple.
So that's just me digging up some dirt with Allison. And we were basically just making like a little trail off the ramp and filling in some of the holes that we dug. So these poles you see would stay still. The ramp itself was pretty big, and it took some time to get like the infrastructure or the poles to be first dug in and built before we started adding like the planks of wood onto the ramp itself. So yeah.
Oh shoot. Okay.
It's two microphones. Think of it that way.
Can you go to the next slide? So hi, my name is Joseph, and I'm a rising junior at Northview High. And me and Jaden were part of the group Knotheads. So during the trip, me and Jaden were mostly responsible with painting and staining around the house. We also helped with reconstructing the front porch, and we also helped laying down the concrete. And a really interesting story that happened during this trip was that our homeowners shared was that when they were evacuating the flood, the homeowners' children, they like made a little fort in the basement for their stuffed animals, and they were praying that hopefully the flood wouldn't affect the stuffed animals, and that the stuffed animals would be safe. And when they came back later, the whole entire house was flooded. Like the living room, the kitchen, everywhere was flooded except for the basement, and the basement was bone dry. And this really just like accentuates God's presence even in the smallest and most trivial matters.
Okay, my name is Jaden. I'm a rising senior. So this trip has honestly been really fun. A really fun part of our crew is that like we gave nicknames to each other. So for example, Joseph was Sleepyhead Joe because he loved sleeping, and my name was AirPods because I had my AirPods in the first 2 minutes on the Van Dare. And for some reason, everyone thought AirPods was really iconic. So by the time when I was leaving, everyone at our church was calling me AirPods, and some random church from North Carolina was calling me AirPods as well, even though I don't know any of them. So yeah, these are some photos of us working really hard, evidently. That's me handling a concrete scrutinizer gun, yeah. And then that's Joseph staining the porch? Yeah, the porch. And oh yeah, another very interesting thing. On Monday, we were doing concrete in the backyard, and we were moving concrete barrels like all around it. And then Joseph here decided to walk right under where the concrete was falling, and he had a natural shower of concrete all over his hair. So yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay.
My name is Olivia, and me and Luna are from the Levelhead group. For our house, their floor got completely flooded, and there was mold growing all over it. We had to like rip up all of the floorboards and replace it. And while we were ripping them up, we found a yellow ant infection and a termite infection. So we had to kill all of them, cut out a piece of wood to go over the holes, and then put the floorboards over it.
My name is Luna, and I was also part of the Level Heads group. And then, one of the walls in the bathroom was also rotten, so we had to repaint it and put on new boards. And then our homeowner, Chris, he wasn't around much, but then his mom was around. His mom, Gypsy, was around a lot. So we decided to pray for her, and we talked to her, and she shared her story.
You have one more thing, Luna. Look up this slide.
Oh yeah, we also me, Claire, and Olivia got to ice bucket Miss Hannah. She was a summer staff.
Hi, my name is Joshua, and I'm a rising sophomore, and this was our house. We were the sheetrockers. A fun fact: this house was completely swept away by the hurricane, and basically they had to rebuild it from scratch. And despite our name, we did not actually sheetrock. The team before. Well, how do you?
Yeah,
No.
that's.
The team before us did a terrible job on insulation, so we had to get rid of all the insulation and put new insulation in, which was very fun. It itched the entire night, but we also stained the deck before being moved to a different project, which Janelle can tell you about.
Yeah, so the next day, Tuesday and Wednesday, we went to another house where the didn't flood very much, but the water went into the first level and started molding the floor. So we took the floorboards off and spent a lot of the time digging a trench around the outside of the house so that more professionals could come in and fix the gap between the house and the foundation so that that wouldn't happen again.
So this year, Miss Lena, Serene, and I were on, okay, I'm Mr. Jim, and I'm Joanna, as I said earlier, and I'm a rising junior. And we were on the square feet team, and so we moved from one site to another and then back to the first one. So the first day we worked at the site with Miss Lisa, who was the homeowner, and we were working on fixing this ramp for her. And so we basically just tore out all the old boards and put in cement during the first day and the second day, the first half of the second day. But then Miss Lisa's son, George, who is bipolar, he was supposed to leave the house whenever we came, but the second day during lunch, he came back, and so we had to leave to move to another site. And he was at his house with us with his weed whacker, which was kind of scary, but with God's protection, everyone was kept safe. And Mr. Jim has a funny story about that.
My name is Jim McKee, as you know. I love these children. It's kind of a funny story if you really take it, because that's the way God makes things happen. But what you didn't know is they didn't tell you is that George was a meth addict. He was very violent. That's why they had to leave. I didn't know that they had left the site. Tom and I were the supervisors, so I guess it was 6 sites in, and he had 5, so we had to run the crews that run there, make sure they're doing well. Well, they didn't tell me they had left, and I was working on 2 houses that weren't far from there. So I come tootling in there, going to see how they're doing, see if they need any help, and I don't see anybody there. Well, George is there. He come out of the house and come through. He was ready for a fight. I didn't know it. I'd pulled in the driveway, and he said, "Who I was?" I said, "I'm Jim McKee. I'm here supervisor." "What are you doing on my property?" "Well, we're working, the World Changers." "And what's your name again?" "It's Jim McKee." By that time, he'd gotten to my truck, and he was coming in my truck violently. And I said, "God, what do you got to do?" And my brain forever now was Ice Cream Wednesdays, because God said, "Ask him where the crew is." I said, "Where's your crew?" He says, "I think they went to get something to eat." And I looked at my watch like I'm pretending like, it's Ice Cream Wednesday. I got to go too. And he stood back, and I took off running. And from now on, Ice Cream Wednesday is our celebration, because God protected that man. They were there sharing the gospel, helping to bring people to Jesus, and I almost sent somebody to Jesus.
Yeah, what they're not telling you too, George was arrested on Thursday and taken to jail. So the site was open again, so they were able to come in on Friday and finish the job that they had started. So is that your job? I'm sorry. Go.
Okay, so on the oh, my name is Serene. I'm a rising junior. And in the second half of the second day, we were going to our new house, a new work site, and on our way there, we came across like road work, so we had to take a different route, and something happened, and we ended up on a cliff, and we had to like do a risky U-turn and stuff, and then our crew filmed themselves saying their last words or something.
But Serene was asleep because she was really tired, so she was sleeping through all of this.
Yeah, that's why I don't really know much. I'm sorry. I wasn't the right person to do this. Yeah, so that turned a 20-minute drive into an hour. So that was interesting. So we got on to our new work site, and we met Dimitri and Jesus, two workers on the doing like installation work. So we helped out with that, except one of our crew members had asthma, so he couldn't work on inside the house. And the installation had fiberglass, so it was like really itchy, and we probably should have worn masks, but we didn't. But okay, so after all that, we basically headed back, and on the third day, we went back to the house because it was still unsafe at our original work site. And we started doing staining. So we stained like the staircase up to the house. By the way, the house was moved up a level because of damage, I think. And what's next? Wait. Okay. We were staining. Earlier during the day it was cooler, but then it got really sunny. So we started doing devotions. And right after we finished devotions, it started like raining really hard or something. And the tent that we were using for shade during devotions almost flew off the railing. And our crew, Mr. Ben, the crew leader, grabbed it right in time. But we decided to just like let it fall onto the ground 2 stories like below. So all that happened. And then we had lunch under the house with Dimitri and Jesus, kind of. And after all that, we went rock skipping at the river we almost fell into earlier during the car ride because cliff, water down here. Okay. And so rock skipping was very fun. And then we finished our staying job, and then we went, that's it for the third day.
Okay, and as Pastor Tom said, on Thursday night, George was put in jail, so we were able to go back to the original house to work on the ramp, which I was really glad about because the poor lady, Miss Lisa, instead of her old ramp, she now had a bunch of poles sticking out of her ground with cement. So we were able to fix that and make her new ramp. And yeah, there's a picture with her and her ramp.
This is Lena. Lena Jean graduated a long time ago, also rising with my husband, Kai, into 50s in no time. So I would just like to highlight word changes is just beyond construction work. Word changes change lives. So I will highlight back to Luna and Olivia. I ran into their crew encourager, Miss Rachel from Mount High Baptist Church in Alabama. Every day, Miss Rachel will come to me and say, let me tell you God's story on these kids. Even though they are first-timers, they have no reservation, no hesitation to pick up any dirty work to do, even though say, it's really stinky there. But they did not mind the dirtiness and stinky smell. They just get down to the earth and do the thing. And then even Luna was courageous in knocking on the door during the prayer walk and asked them how I can pray for you. So these are all God's story on these young lives. And also you see these 2 slender ladies, they actually overstretch themselves, pick up all the power tools, right? And all the different gadgets to do all the necessary tasks. You could only imagine how strong and how versatile their skill now. And beyond that, as we saw earlier, for the first crew chat, we'll assign different roles. So Miss Serene's volunteer-ish, no, volunteer devotion leaders. And you should see how authoritative she was talking during the devotion time. Very energized, very inviting, quote unquote. See, Joanna, you're gonna do the prayer, and everybody gonna answer. So we just see how she's leveraging all the equipment she's received at church with the little kids, but then with the teenagers and adults, she will still exercise all her spiritual muscles to see, we're gonna do God's work and dive deeper into His Word. And for Joanna, she's our reporter. So every day we were supposed to have some prayer time with the homeowners, share gospel, and even have a prayer walk. But given our very dynamic situations, switching between the two sites, we didn't get to, and we were in a crunch time to finish the ramp. But God sent Mr. Jim and Pastor Tom, the two professionals to our site, really just got on the knees and just did everything very strategic, meticulous, even though there's some heated discussion between them for every single move. But then Pastor Tom got down on his knees and prayed for the family. And people heard, we don't know what's the story behind George. And to the point, he is battling with bipolar, drug addiction, and other things. But Miss Lisa, she's still even praying for us, for our family situations, and for our safe travels home. So we're here to change your lives. And more than that, the one young man Daniel mentioned earlier, who received Jesus Christ on Thursday night concert prayer, is on our crew. He first came because of his girlfriend. And girlfriend's love language is quality time. So he came to spend quality time with his girlfriend. There's something happened between them, and really, I was a little bit scared. Tuesday night, he said, Miss Lena, I'm not gonna come again. I'm calling my parents to get home. So we got to talk, and that night was God giving Jonah a second chance. And I say, guy, just give God a second chance. Give yourself a second chance. So just add one more day. So he stepped for the second day and witnessed how we have George walking down and up the street with the running weed whackers. And we had a lot of machines laid out on the ground, so we had to spend time to clean up everything, to retreat. But thank God, nobody was hurt. During that whole time, nobody was hurt, even though he was really walking around us and through us. And Talon is his name. He later said, Miss Lena, I'm thankful I got to stay, experience all this. So day after day, he stayed till Thursday concert night. I noticed he was tearful and walked away with his youth leader. And coming back, I know for sure he was saved. So word changes save lives. Even though we don't have the report on anyone from the homeowner, nearby neighbors, which we assume should be, but it could be someone right on crew. Because we cannot assume every kid come, they already know Christ. And they all have their burden and baggage. But this is genuine tears running down his cheek and his genuine heart to surrender to God. So praise the Lord.
All right, so I was on the crew named the Tool Timers. That's me, Jaden. I'm going to 11th grade, Jeffy and JoJo. Next slide, please. All right, so as you can see, we had like a pretty humongous deck to replace. And as you can see under it, there was a pond, right? And the nice homeowners actually had to drain the pond so that we wouldn't be swimming in water while building a deck, which helped a lot. And as you can see there, we were demolishing the pond. That's JoJo removing one of the homeowners' prized plants. And yeah, a lot of tools and a lot of destroying stuff. And then, so pretty much with this deck, the funny thing is, well, not funny, all the wood was pretty much rotten because there was a pond underneath, and it completely overflowed during Helene and like flooded everything and made it like super rotten. So we had to just pretty much replace everything. New wood, we tried to scrap some, but it's not very strong because it was rotten. And yeah, that's us building the deck right there.
What's your nickname?
I forgot it. Yeah, yeah. I did a lot of joist hangers. Those suck to put on.
Hi, my name is Jeffy. I'm a rising senior. Unfortunately, I don't have a nickname. I was on the same team. While Jaden was working, like our group split off into two groups. He was part of the group working on the big deck, but around the house there were two other smaller decks that needed work, like they needed working too. One of them was just off to the side. We had to completely strip it and then replace the top boards, and we finished that in like a day. And then there was on the other side of the house, kind of like opposite, there was another deck that we had to kind of like demo. So our group was like the fun group. We had to do a bunch of demoing, a lot of stress relieving. Yeah. Here you go, JoJo.
Yeah, a lot of scratches. But another miraculous story. Jaden and Joseph's house was 2 houses down, and their son was the son of our homeowner. And there was another house in between them, and they had a 10-day-old baby the day of the flood. And they had to, because our house was a little more uphill, they had to get that baby to safety and go uphill. And so Matt, the owner of the other house, came and, like Simba, carried the baby through like waist deep water and rough currents. And the whole time the family was up at their mom's house praying so hard for this baby to be safe. But then right as they were walking there, a propane tank came and crashed into their deck, the back deck that was destroyed, and started leaking to the house. It was a 500-gallon propane tank, and so they're praying for this propane tank to leave, but they also don't want it to hit the Matt carrying the baby. And so they're just praying to God to keep them all safe. But what was miraculous is that just as the baby got to the house safely, the propane tank was able to leave. And just God is in the details, and God is sovereign.
Amen. All right.
Okay, so because we didn't want to sleep on an air mattress the rest of our lives, we came home, obviously. So again, we stopped at Crack and Barrel, and again, the food was pretty good. One thing that was very interesting that I personally did at Crack and Barrel was I wanted to do Bean Boozle again. So to those who don't know what that is, it's basically like a gambling game where you can either get a very good flavor or a very bad flavor. And because I want to trick more people into taking it, I bought another bag of jelly beans just to mix the two together. And of course, the guys gambled a lot, but then I never did that. But I never did that to like the girls as well. So on the way back, we stopped at the Georgia line border, like the rest spot. So I gave the bag of jelly beans, which was basically like 75% full, to the girls' van, and surprisingly, they finished everything on the way back. And they didn't even stop to throw up or anything, which is like insane to me. Okay, so later that night, we had a party at Daniel's house. So thank you, Daniel and his mom and his family for hosting us. Hosting a bunch of teenagers. And well, I learned at his house was that Mr. Jim really loves soybean milk tea, and Jaden Wang really likes Taco Bell.
All right.
Well, you're probably wondering why you haven't heard much from me, but we did a lot of things this week. First of all, let me just comment on this group of kids. This is the most mature, interested, enthusiastic bunch of kids I've ever worked with since we've started all this. There's a lot of stories. We shared some of them last night. I shared some of them with some of the parents while we had dinner, and I haven't had a chance maybe to share them with you. But there's two real takeaways from all of this. Number one, this whole week has been really an exercise in what our pastor, who was presenting the gospel to us every night, we are to be fluid. all right? Just as they were fluid in their jobs, we didn't know from day to day what we were going to be dealing with. Sometimes we had some stuff that we kind of looked at each other like, why are we doing this? And as particular, Daniel and Lori can tell you exactly what that means. I mean, because it got frustrating at times, but they endured, all right? And it's the same lesson that we have. We have to endure too, all right? Because there's things that frustrate us, but yet, at the same time, we have to push forward. Why? Because that's what God wants us to do. And so whether we're talking about homeowners who went through the catastrophe of catastrophes that none of us can imagine, all right? I'm sitting here to tell you right now, there are story after story after story that I haven't told you that I'm not going to have time to tell you about, but these folks are still suffering. They need our prayers. They need us. They need our support. They need more kids to come out here. Every one of them was grateful. We went out and did prayer walks in the community, and some of these folks can tell you that. And the level of appreciation that these folks had for the things that we did, even if it didn't seem like it was much, it was significant. And it was enough that they felt like someone cared. And you know, that's really what it's all about, is caring. And so let's just take that a step further. We need to stay that kind of caring to people that we know in our own world, in our own community. Maybe people that, yeah, maybe in some instances like a George, who doesn't really maybe even deserve that. But yet there's a story behind why George is George. And you know, we have to take that into account, and we have to love him, even though, and this is another lesson that we learned through the week with Jonah, we learned that sometimes you have to love those that you don't think are lovable. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do. But yet we have to do it because we're commanded to do it. So those two takeaways, I think, kind of sort of summarized everything about this trip. And I'm like I said, I can't be more proud of what I saw this week in terms of being a leader. They stepped out of their comfort zone. Some of them, I mean, it was shocking when I heard those girls were, knocking on doors by themselves with no adults. I mean, they were willing to stick their necks out. How many of you are willing to walk up to somebody's door and stick your neck out and say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from World Changers, and we're just here today to just tell you about what we're doing," and stuff like that? That takes some guts, guys. I'm proud of them.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, if you would, go ahead and have your seats. A couple of things are going to happen. Pastor Leonard's going to come up and kind of wrap us up a little bit. And then after that, we do have a video that's a World Changers video of our trip, so that you'll get to see that, and the kids will want to see that. And then don't forget, Pastor Leonard has asked that you would step out after the video